US Vice President JD Vance has delivered a message that is resonating loudly on both sides of the Atlantic. He has told Britons to, in his words, push back against the crazies who take offense at the sight of their own national flags, the Union Jack and the Cross of St. George. His remarks came after he was asked to comment on the Operation Raise the Colours campaign, a grassroots movement that has swept across Britain in recent weeks. This campaign, powered by ordinary citizens, has encouraged communities to hoist their flags proudly after local councils in London and Birmingham removed British and English banners from bridges and lampposts, while controversially allowing Palestinian flags to remain. For many Britons, that double standard was the tipping point, and it has turned flag flying into both a patriotic act and a political statement. JD Vance, a Republican politician and longtime critic of restrictions on free speech, didn't hold back. When asked on Fox News whether he had seen how the St. George's flag has become both controversial and patriotic, he responded by drawing a parallel with the United States. He recalled how a friend of his was fearful of flying the American flag during the Black Lives Matter riots in 2020 for fear of being targeted. You see the same things happening in Europe, Vance warned, and we just have to be on guard against this stuff. It's okay to be proud of your country. In fact, it's a good thing. We should push back against the crazies who say we should be ashamed of our culture and our heritage. That's craziness, and we've got to call that out. He went further, urging Europeans to follow the same example, stand tall, fly your flags, and refuse to be shamed into silence. But this isn't the first time JD Vance has turned his attention to Britain. Earlier this month, he issued a stark warning to Foreign Secretary David Lammy, saying the UK was on a very dark path of censoring opinions rather than engaging with them. At the Munich Security Conference earlier this year, Vance also spoke out about what he described as a backslide in conscience rights in the UK. He cited the case of Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and army veteran, who was charged simply for standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Vance described it as a heinous crime manufactured by British authorities, pointing out that Smith Connor had not obstructed, harassed, or spoken to anyone. The Vice President's criticism has also been echoed at the highest levels of US politics. In meetings between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, Vance warned that Britain's clampdown on free speech doesn't just affect UK citizens, it impacts American companies and, by extension, American citizens. Starmer attempted to push back, insisting that Britain has a long and proud tradition of free speech, but the US administration has not been convinced. The case of Lucy Connolly, a mother jailed earlier this year for a social media post, was raised directly with the White House, and it added fuel to an already heated debate. Only weeks later, the Trump administration released its official human rights report on Britain, and the findings were damning. The report said human rights in Britain had worsened over the past 12 months. It highlighted a rising threat of anti-Semitic violence, but it also zeroed in on the suppression of freedom of expression. It specifically referenced the aftermath of the Southport attacks in July 2024, describing it as an especially grievous example of government censorship, where ordinary Britons were silenced en masse. The report also drew attention to Britain's so-called buffer zone laws, which criminalize protests outside abortion clinics. It noted the conviction of 64-year-old Livia Tossisi-Bolt, who was found guilty in April for simply holding a sign in Bournemouth that read, "Here to talk if you want." For that, she received a 2-year conditional discharge and was fined £20,000. All of this feeds into a picture JD Vance has painted consistently. A Britain where the right to free speech is being chipped away, where citizens are punished for expressing opinions, and now where flying the national flag itself can be branded controversial. His comments on Operation Raise the Colours may have been blunt, but they strike at the core of a wider debate. Are Britons still free to be openly proud of their identity, or has patriotism itself been placed on trial? JD Vance's answer is clear. Don't give in, don't apologise for your heritage, and above all, keep raising those colours. In other news, Sir Davey has demanded an apology from Nigel Farage and the Conservatives as he laid blame on Brexit for Britain's surging migrant crisis. Speaking to the media, the Liberal Democrats leader claimed they caused the problem of record-breaking illegal migration numbers by campaigning for Brexit. Hitting out at the migrant crisis, Mr. Davey stated, "The truth is, the small boats is a sign of policy failure, and the Conservatives to blame. Actually, Nigel Farage is to blame. Before we left the EU, before Brexit, we had a returns agreement with every European country, which meant we could, through the Dublin Convention, automatically return people on small boats, and now that is broken." He added, "We don't have that legal power anymore, and the French and others have made it very difficult for us to return these people in the small boats. It's got far, far worse, and we didn't have this problem before Brexit." Taking aim at Reform UK leader Nigel Farage, Mr. Davey fumed. "Nigel Farage has been very vocal, hasn't he, over the summer? We should start with an apology, and the Conservatives should apologise. They caused this problem, they have wasted billions of pounds, and all these people are protesting. They should be protesting at Nigel Farage and the Conservatives who caused this chaos." Asked by host Ellie Costello for his verdict on a review by the Refugee Council, which has proposed a targeted one-off scheme to give illegal migrants temporary legal status, Mr. Davey backed the scheme. The Lib Dems leader told the media, "I think it's a very good idea. The Liberal Democrats have long argued that people waiting months and months for asylum applications, having to be housed in hotels at great expense to the taxpayer, should actually be asked to work, and therefore, rather than costing us, can actually contribute to our economy and to the exchequer. It seems a sensible approach." Weighing in on the use of asylum hotels, Mr. Davey made clear that his party have long argued that the policy is a Tory mistake. He explained, "The Liberal Democrats have long argued that these asylum hotels are a sign of the mistakes of the Conservatives, the failure of the Conservatives over immigration. They, first of all, failed to process asylum applications quickly enough. Indeed, they deliberately created this backlog, which led to the hotels in the first place. The hotels are the Conservatives' fault." Highlighting the many solutions to stopping the small boats crisis, Mr. Davey concluded that the government needs international cooperation alongside other factors to end the crossings. He said, "If we're going to now solve that and prevent that mistake going on and costing us all a fortune, I think things like not just processing the applications more quickly, but getting people to actually work and contribute seems a sensible way forward. It's not the only thing we need to do. We do need a lot of international cooperation. We've got to stop the small boats in the first place. But in terms of dealing with the asylum hotels, this is definitely one way we should look at it." In closing, Sir Ed Davey was clear in his view that both Brexit and Conservative policy have fueled the current migrant crisis, while also pointing the finger at Nigel Farage for his role in taking Britain out of the EU. He argued that the failure to process asylum claims efficiently, alongside the loss of EU returns agreements, has left the system broken and overly reliant on costly hotel accommodation. Backing a more pragmatic solution, the Lib Dem leader called for quicker decision-making, granting asylum seekers the right to work, and renewed international cooperation, measures he believes are essential if the UK is to ease the pressure on communities and finally tackle the small boats crisis. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.